Hey everybody, this is Grace. In this video, I'm going to talk about, once again, about narcissism versus altruism, in a way. And it's on my mind again, and I'm not sure why I'll have to think about that, why this particular topic came to my mind this morning. But how many of us are old enough to remember this? When I was in elementary school, I don't know what grade, I do remember, that was a long time ago, I'm 57, it's a long time ago, but I do remember that of, even I think all the way into high school, going to a public school now. This kindergarten I was in private, but after that, public schools. And we, in classes, we would actually hear or read things or discuss things about Christianity. Okay, and back then, and where I attended, I don't know if it was the rest of the world, I know where I attended and the classes I took, and to speak of like evolution was no. It was that Christianity, speaking about Christianity was accepted. There was no problem. Okay. I think it's quite reversed now, and has been for years. But I do remember when I was, like I said, probably, I don't know, but we had to read stories, books, like kids do in classes. And I have a vague memory of this. Well, part of it I have rather clear. It was a book that was about doing good work, some say good deeds, versus not. And I remember the thing, it really struck me as a child that nobody, like I've mentioned in videos recently, nobody knows if they're going to heaven or hell. It was that kind of, it was a child's story now. And so they needed to, while they were on this planet, they needed to do good works, good deeds, and not evil, okay? They actually had to make an effort to somewhat to try to secure, to be sent to heaven. Okay, they had to actually do something and do things. It had to be part of them, part of their lives, and all that. And I vaguely remember that maybe, as a kid, there was a little debate about that. But yeah, that was a long time ago. I could be wrong. Try not to lie about it, but that's what my memory. I remember that. Plus, I remember a little bit about the book. I think the main character was something like a shoemaker or a baker, or okay, isn't there also a kid's story like that? You see what I'm saying? It was a long time ago. Now after that, as I grew older, I think it was in a science class. It was the first time I'd heard of in high school, heard of evolution, and we were studying, debating, creationism and evolution. Is that how you say both of them? But, and then whenever I went to college, I earned my degrees in psychology and sociology, and I studied quite a bit of this, like Darwinism and so forth, and, the big ones in sociology were, Karl Marx, Emil Durkheim, and who was the other one? What was his name? That was a while back too. But anyway, any of these, Max Weber, any of these, we, did study different. Actually took classes on it, and it was a state university. Well, I've moved around a lot, and I attended, I think, 8 or 9 somewhere around there, colleges and universities while I was moving around. So, but that's where I ended up, was the one at state. And anyway, but we learned these kinds of things, and sometimes this kind of topic would come up, but now let me go backwards a little bit here, getting ahead of myself. But when I was in high school, one of my friends told me that I had to be saved, and I had never heard that. she said she could do the thing. I said, actually, I had heard. I said, no, you're not a person who can do the ritual. But anyway, she did. And it was probably around that time probably from her, when she was Baptist, I believe. She was very, very Christian. And anyway, around that time was when I started hearing people say this about, no, you don't have to. You don't have to do good works. You don't have to do good deeds. You don't have to be good. You don't have to do anything. Once you're saved, you're always saved. It doesn't matter what you do. Now, I remember as a teenager going, what? That just doesn't make any sense to me. You can just go and do this ritual, and then you can go out and do everything bad you want to, and you're still going to go to heaven? And that's how it was back then. Now, remember, when I'm saying this, I'm saying it as that kid to teenager, how I was seeing it back then. So it's going to sound like I'm really young, naive, and all that. But because I was back then. And but still to this day, I cannot see that would be the way it is. You just go and do whatever you want. And it makes me think, again, let's go back to narcissism here. Who would be putting that out there? Who would be saying you can do whatever you want, you can be all selfish and only think about yourself? Well, a narcissistic person. Okay, that's narcissism. Self-centeredness. Okay, and an altruistic person, that's right, selfless. Quite selfless. Now, I'm not one to say, to be a martyr for every cause, some people. I'm not saying that, really. But to do good things. Don't do bad things. And don't just sit there idle. I'm not going to do anything. Okay? And I really do think that that's one of the things that is the problem today, is that some people went that way and the other people went that way. That's how it was when I was a kid. I've mentioned this before, that, as a kid, this is the kind of way I put it back then, was that why do people in dysfunctional families, I didn't know the word dysfunctional, but why do people in certain families, when they're bad, a parent's bad, that some of them turn good and some of them turn bad? Okay, I'm telling you, I think my whole life was geared toward me talking about these topics, seriously, of narcissism versus altruism. And I know some people think it's narcissism versus empathy. No, that's only part of it. Being an empath. Okay. Yeah, no. It's altruism. That's how I see it. So, okay. Anyway, but then again, later on, I guess it was maybe I was 49, maybe 50. And the topic came up with somebody I was doing an internship under. And she had made a comment about that. And I'm still sitting there going, really? Why would anybody even think that you're going to go to heaven, yet you are going to be narcissistic? I mean, read 2 Timothy 3. But to be very self-centered and not think about others and only concern yourself with yourself and do whatever it takes to get whatever you want kind of mentality, and not do anything for anybody else. Why would anybody think that? Logically, my logical brain says, no, I cannot see that. And I would not see that. Okay? Really? To be all about oneself and to go to heaven? I mean, just the whole concept, to do all for yourself and only yourself, and then you're thinking you're going to heaven because you did a ritual. Now, I'm not trying to tell anybody how to think here, but I would really love to hear people as mature adults who've actually contemplated, who's thought through have these thoughts, would really like to explain that to me if they that's how they think, or maybe even if they don't. How do you justify it? Because of the one ritual? I mean, anybody could just do that one ritual. I know somebody who didn't and turned around and was pure evil. She was before, she was during, and she's after. Okay? and that person is very judgmental about other people. No, you're not. You're not. Saying that people aren't Christians who are truly Christians. So, I've already mentioned that. I have actually 2 other videos I haven't made public yet. So, I need to do that first. Who knows? I might mix them up. But I mentioned these things in those. I mentioned this about people trying to determine who is stating, not trying to, just stating who is truly, the actual people, pointing an actual finger at people and saying who's Christian, who's not. Or actually, as I said, who's damned to hell and who's not. Or not even mention the ones who's not. And as I've said, anything I've ever heard that's not you. That's not on you. But we really need, to me, I really need to think more and say, or I don't really need to think more, but talk more about this. The whole thing of doing good deeds and doing good works. And that is some of the reasons, why we're having so much trouble, because too many people are narcissistic. I'm not saying they're diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, no. But they're traits. They have behaviors of. They, like I just said, very self-centered. Some want to be glorified. And as a Christian, I know that you do not glorify a person or people. You glorify God, not anybody else. But these are people who expect that. They want that. They desire that so bad. How can the people who do that, how can they go to heaven? Go on. Somebody tell me. Make it make sense to me. But I'm never going to agree with you. I'll tell you that right now. You can tell me anything, and I'm not going to agree with it. I just cannot see it that way. And no. Now, some people might question what is good deed, good works, however you put it. And, you add into it just being a good, decent person. I've said this before and asked, how many people grew up hearing good, decent person? It's like it's just a phrase we use to define certain people, and it automatically comes out that way. Good, decent person. Anyway, but to be one also, to just be somebody. Now, I think these days an example I think more people understand is that of paying it forward. To helping other people, not just be focused on what you want, as I just said earlier. To think about what do other people need that in my life, not give up everything for them. Give them all that you have to where you're suffering, but to be there for people. And not to be there for somebody so you can feel better about yourself, or you can look good, or you want to gain something from it. Believe me, recently I've seen this. Oh my goodness. Bad. But no, to just have that in you. It's just part of you. It's who you are, and probably been since you were a child. Maybe a good chance it would be that you've been this way since you were a child, or later on you said, okay, this is wrong what I do. I'm going to change my ways and actually do it. Probably when you're young, but and do think, concern yourself, like the whole thing of wearing masks. Concern yourself with somebody beyond your own nose, pardon the pun. But really, to think, to care about other people, to love other humans, and act accordingly. Really. Instead of saying, it's all about me, 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 me. And there are so many things you can see. Now, like I said, I read that child's book when I was a child. And, but I can see a progression in life. Looking back, I was very observant. I've always been, as far back as I can remember, someone who sat there and questioned too. Okay, why do some kids and families turn out good and the other ones turn out bad? As a young child, I was questioning that. Some were narcissistic, some were altruistic. So, but for people to say, okay, it's not a bad thing. They're not, and I am well aware of that people see me because I'm saying this. That yeah, she's too nice. She's a people pleaser. They're going to put a negative label on me, and say nice people get, taken advantage of. Because maybe they have experienced that as a nice person, and they say, I'm no longer going to be a nice person. I'm no longer going to make other people happy and feel good. You don't have to, in this altruism, there's no feeling back. There's no trying to do that so I'll feel good. But it will bring about a good chance of, for some people don't do that. It's not it's not their goal is to think about themselves. They're helping other people, because the situation is there, or maybe long term they're doing things to help, and then other things like paying it forward, donating to good causes, giving charity. Now, I remember doing a video one time before about what Adam and I, we do charitable things, but a true Christian would not tell anybody. I did not know that. I read it somewhere it came up. I don't remember, but yeah, I mean, really, that's braggadocious was the word. It's bragging, It's trying to make yourself look so good, so wonderful, so holy. If you're holy, you are. It will shine. It will come through. There's no need to go out and tell somebody, Yeah. Really. Well, I mean, in a way. Let me get to that. Honestly, I think that that's a whole video unto itself. Because I've mentioned this in my story thing about my own, and then I'm on a mission on it, and I after that I realized, okay, I should just discuss topics, but not put out there that kind of thing. You see what I'm saying? To put it out there, so you don't, in my view, you don't really want to put yourself up there so you would shine. You would be. Some people would glorify you. Some people would. No, you don't do that. Yeah. Maybe I need to think about that more. But that is around along this whole line is to not tell people all about your good works, the contributions you make. Now, we're not perfect beings. We are not perfect beings. And every once in a while, I do feel this way. To say it, to mention it, to talk about it, kind of like gives other people an urge to do it. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think whenever I did that online, it was something about buying, going like to Dollar Tree and buying a bunch of little items and giving them to, you can give them to anybody, really, like homeless shelter or something. But mine was nursing homes, nursing homes, other kind of senior living communities, and that's what I would do. And, just to mention it to me, I wasn't looking for somebody to tell me, oh, look, she did that, that's such a wonderful person. I was saying it so people would say, hey, that's a good idea, go to Dollar Tree. Because how many of us like Dollar Tree? Hey, I like Dollar Tree. I haven't been there in probably a year or so. But I didn't like it at first, I don't think, when it first came out. I kind of did, and then I hardly ever went. But anyway. But, yeah, so would they. Whenever I've worked at senior living communities as a life enrichment director, and Dollar Tree was on my list where they would go. Those who could. It was Dollar Tree. But mainly they wanted to go to Walmart. So it was because they could buy also food. Little snacks they liked. But, or whatever they liked. But Dollar Tree stuff. Of course, check with the whatever community it is and see if that's okay to do so. What not to buy, like beads might not be a good idea at all. But check with them what they think. Tell them what you would want to buy and ask them, is this okay to buy this, that, and the other. So, but see, mentioning something like that urges other people to do something that is a good deed. It's a good work. It just is. No glorifying me. This is just something good to do. And then the people who do it, they do it out of the kindness of their heart. Not because they want to get some glory. They want to have people, they want to brag about it, that this is what they did. No. Just it's who you are. Anyway, I think that's enough for this one. And but what about you? Well, don't tell me. Don't tell me your good deeds. But what do you think about good deeds? What were you taught? And have you really thought it through? If you were taught bad, that you don't have to do it, why? Have you thought it through? Anyway, that's enough for this for now. I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.